Hi, my name's Jayma Meadler, and this is my first vlog entry for the chapter 1 of The Smartphone Paradox by Dr. Alan Reed. So Dr. Reed, he basically starts by introducing his book, and he explains the whole idea of what the smartphone paradox is and what that really means. And he basically says that our devices are both liberating and controlling at the same time, which I found to be very interesting and was a realization for me because that totally is true and can relate to my everyday life. He also mentions how we turn to our devices for this instant gratification and this satisfaction, and that's something that he also connects to the idea of drinking and gambling because those activities are also for the same purposes. So that is definitely an eye-opener. Because you would never think that you would connect your phone to doing the same thing as what drinking and gambling does. I pulled out a very interesting quote on page 3 that says, "It is undeniable that the smartphone has had indelible facts on the ways that we act, think, and feel." So that quote was obviously very interesting to me because I can tell in my own life, not just for myself, but all the people around me, that they act differently and think differently and feel differently than they would without their smartphones. And especially when you connect it back to previous generations, they definitely had a different style of life and had real connections to people that weren't just through their phones. He also mentions his thesis that is standard throughout his whole book, and that thesis is that which we invest ourselves in technology is that which is lost. So for Dr. Reed, he says that having children further continued his curiosity about the effects of smartphones on our behaviors, and he also mentions how his daughter had commented on his smartphone usage as her parent, which I thought was particularly interesting, that somebody so young who hasn't probably had an opportunity to experience life with the smartphone yet, how that impacts her and how she was able to notice how the people around her use their smartphone so much and make a comment on it to say, like, why are you always on your phone? So he also goes into talking about how technology really affects our learning. So nowadays we're obviously always using computers and iPads, like, to take notes in class because it's, nice and quick to just type them out. But we don't realize that by typing them out, we're not actually learning that information that we would if we took the time to carefully write out the notes and actually retain that information. So not only that, but it also is obviously a major distraction to have both phones and computers in the classroom. So, we're texting on the side while also trying to take notes or scrolling on social media just because we're bored and don't want to pay attention, or, kids play games on their computers, on websites just while they're in school. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He also listed a bunch of things that college students said in his survey, which I thought was really particularly interesting, with some people saying that they feel lost without their phones, and that this one was very interesting to me, that their phone is as necessary as a vital organ is. So that just shows they really cannot live without their smartphone. A personal connection I made was on page 5, where he says, "But without my phone, I feel naked and vulnerable." I thought this was funny, but actually very relatable, because it's really hard to go anywhere without your phone. It's very hard to disconnect. You feel like you're missing something and just kind of lost overall. It's weird to not be checking your messages and seeing if people are trying to contact you. So I totally connected to that. I also connected this whole chapter to the article that we just read last week, The Medium is the Message. And I connected it to McLuhan and all of his studies about how the smartphones and all these devices are impacting us as humans and impacting our society. So I thought that was interesting as well, how much it connects to his studies. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.